So today is my discussion is about healthy eating and weight control. Originally I was only going to talk about just eating healthy, but I've had so many questions about how to lose weight or keep their weight off. And really, when you think about it, those two things go hand in hand. If you strive to eat healthy, then your weight's naturally going to it's going to normalize. You may not get very thin, but you're going to go to a weight that's natural and healthy for you. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Before we kind of get on to that, I've also had some discussions with people about what constitutes being overweight as opposed to normal weight and being obese. You hear all these stats about 65% of all Americans are overweight, and then, between 40 and 50% are becoming obese, and how in Mississippi especially we have such a big problem with this. And related to that is diabetes and all the other problems with that. So how do you know where you are? One thing, I have brought a tape measure and a body fat measure. So after this session, anybody who wants to hang around, we can go around the corner over here, and I'll be glad to measure your body fat or give you the tape measure, and you can see where you are. I like those two methods the best. So obese refers to how fat you are without accounting for muscle and other weight, like bones or things like that. People say, I'm big bone, that's why I weigh so much. Well, okay, so maybe it's the case, and sometimes it is. Overweight has to do with how much do you weigh regardless, okay? So you might get on the scale. Here's an example of that. How many of y'all have done your BMI? Okay. The BMI test really just looks at your weight and your height. And that's pretty much it, right? And you have a little calculation you can do or a table you can look at. Let's say that you are a person, let's say a man who's 5'10", and according to the BMI chart, if you weigh 200 pounds, then you are overweight or even obese. It may even call you obese. But how does it know that? What if you're a bodybuilder? Muscle weighs more than fat, and if you're a bodybuilder, you might weigh 200 pounds at 5'10", but if I were to put you on the body fat analyzer, your body fat might only be 2%. That is not obese, right? So that's the difference. You want to look at all of it. You want to look at what's your weight. That's important, and you can look at your BMI number. But if you're very muscular, maybe disregard that number and instead look at your waist measurement. For women, you want to keep your waist measurement ideally less than 30, but definitely less than 35. And for men, 35 ideally, but definitely less than 40, okay? So, looking at those things. I have the tape measure, like I said, you can test and see where you are. And then body fat percentage, women should be between, say, 15 and 30%, men between 8 and 25% ideally. And you can see the numbers on here if you're higher than that. So, if you want to write these down, you can. If you plan on getting your body fat done after this session, just so you'll know where you are. I can remind you if not, okay? Causes of obesity. How many of you have obese parents, uncles, cousins? Okay, everybody in my family is obese on both sides of the family. Boy, am I hitting it hard. I have to really, really work it. I have cousins that are 400 and 500 pounds. When I go to family reunions, they call me anorexic, right? So it's a battle, and genetics does play a part in it. There have been a lot of discussion, how much does it play? Some experts say 50%, some say it could be higher. I heard an expert the other day who said that if you are predisposed genetically to gain weight and you drink a lot of sugary drinks, colas, things like that, those big gulps, things like that, that's going to increase your risk of becoming obese. So genetics does play a part, but so does lifestyle. People who are not genetically predisposed to becoming obese may not have a problem with that, with drinking sugary drinks. So you got to know what your family history is and what's going on that way. Environmental, lack of physical activity, and overeating or eating the wrong types of foods, that will increase your risk, of course, of getting overweight or obese. Psychological, how many of you are stress eaters? And some people, when they're stressed, they can't eat at all. I call those people lucky. But those of us who are stress eaters tend to have a little problem. If you come, you get bored, you're stressed out, you go in the kitchen and you're grazing, and that's a big, big problem. And then there's some other problems, pretty rare actually to have thyroid problems. Some people have to take medicines like steroids that make them gain weight. Other illnesses can cause it. And I'm seeing a lot of new research about things like plastic in plastic bottles and other contaminants, that especially when women are carrying their children and they drink a lot of the things out of plastic containers, their children are more likely to be obese because it gets into their body, somehow these BPAs get into their body. So there's a lot of new research being done about that. Okay. Consequences of being obese, a lot of death is indirectly or directly related. You know, you look at all the diseases, and Mississippi is pretty much highest in all of these in the whole country. Yeah, yes. So, you know, and it's all related to our lifestyle and the foods we like to eat. We love our fried food down here. And it, you know, most of Mississippi is rural. And if you're in a rural area, it's hard to walk everywhere. You go into a big city, you go to New York City, you walk everywhere you go. You go to Paris, you go to England, you walk everywhere. Here, if you're walking, people are going to pull over and go, hey, you need a ride? You know, where are you going? Why are you walking? They think you're crazy if you're out there walking on the street. So, you know, we don't walk as much here. And we tend to have a lot more health problems as a result. So let's get to the core of the matter. What do we do about it? Here's just some general guidelines, and I have a little packet here we'll go over in a little bit later with more specific guidelines. Let's just talk generally at first. If you can choose healthy foods the majority of the time, I mean, you know, no one's perfect, and you know, I don't want you to. Life is short, right? And if I knew I had to live the rest of my life and not have chocolate, I'd end it now. Because I mean, I got to have my chocolate. But if most of the time, you know, let's say 75, 80% of the time, maybe even higher, but at least 75% of the time, you're choosing fruits and vegetables, fish and chicken, not fried, baked, grilled, or broiled, you're going to be all right. You know, and it's okay if on a Friday night you want to go out with your friends and have a pizza, or if you want to, you know, occasionally, once a month or so, have a milkshake or some fried chicken or whatever. Just not every day. Every day it's going to cause some problems. So it's, you know, most of the time. And if you do that, if you choose healthy foods most of the time, weight control is a natural side effect. It's just going to happen because, you know, there are some fat rabbits and cows out there who only eat vegetables. But for most people who eat a lot of vegetables and fruit, they tend to be at a normal or nice weight, right? Now, here's what I say the most common thing is this yo-yo dieting. People are like, I've got to lose this much weight before this date. You know, I've got this wedding I got to go to or something else, and they want to lose all this weight. And then as soon as this thing happens, they gain the weight back. Anybody guilty of that? Losing weight and then gaining it back, losing and gaining. Yo-yo dieting. Yo-yo dieting is more dangerous to your body than smoking, eating fast foods all the time, and being inactive. Yo-yo dieting does something to your blood vessels that sets you up for heart disease down the road. It also makes your heart weaker. You're depriving yourself of calories, and then you're gaining the weight back. You're losing muscle mass. Your heart's a muscle. So all these things are happening. There's a lot of things happening at one time. So the best way to lose weight is to look down the road. Where do you want to be? You know, maybe right now you're 40 years old. Where do you want to be when you're 45? You know, think of it that way. Do you want to be more healthy in 5 years than you are right now, or do you want to be less healthy? How many of y'all are healthier now than you were when you were in your 20s? Yeah, some people are. And that's the goal is, you know, you got to push yourself a little harder because age, you know, is right there. So we got to fight that age factor. And we can be healthier as we get older. And eating right is part of that. I really discourage you from eating less than 1,200 calories a day. And we'll look a little bit later on how you can count your calories. There's some apps you can use. There's the old-fashioned food diary way. But eating less than 1,200 calories a day tends to slow down your metabolism. It's not realistic to live on less than 1,200 calories a day. If you're trying to eat 800 calories, 500 calories, can you live on that? I can. I get mean. I get real mean if I'm eating less than that.
Clarify for me, is that net calories? Or like if you eat 1,500 calories but you burn 1,000 in a workout, is that okay? Or is that bad?
I wouldn't say it's bad. Not if you're burning 1,000 calories in a workout. I mean, someone who's really active, 2,500 calories a day is fine. But you know, if you have a desk job and you go home and sit on the couch, you're not very active. But even so, I would say no less than 1,200. Most women tend to eat around 2,000 calories a day. People who are, you know, not obese, and most men tend to eat 2,500 if they're not obese. If you're eating around 3,000 calories a day, unless you're digging ditches, you're working really hard manual labor all day long, you're probably going to have a weight problem. Now, if you're out there working really hard, you might be able to eat 3,000 calories a day. So you have to kind of just be aware of what your input and output. We're going to talk about that in a little while. How do you figure that out? Aim for more daily activity. Try not to sit longer than 20 minutes at a time. I know that's hard, but if you've been sitting for a long time, try to get up and walk around, 5 or 10 minutes. Not only for your weight, but also because it helps decrease your risk of blood clots and heart disease. People who, when they fly for a long time and they're sitting, they tend to have problems with blood clots in their legs. So just sitting for a long time. Have y'all seen the new research about that? How people who sit for a long time at a really increased risk for sudden death? So try not to sit too long at a time. If you feel like getting up in the middle of this session and stretching, I'm okay with that. That's fine. And then try, in addition to the activity, try to exercise 30 to 60 minutes 3 times a week. Walk around the track 3 or 4 times around. I see Kim out there all the time. She goes out and walks at lunchtime all the time. I see a lot of you over there working out a lot. This one here, she works all day long, then she works out. She's really active, really, really active. Okay. So burn the candle at both ends. Here's for weight control. So if you just take in fewer than 3,500 calories in a week's time, what is that? 500 calories a day times 7 days a week. That's a pound a week. Okay? And on the other side, if you can burn extra 500 calories a day, that's 2 pounds a week. That's as much as you should try to lose. If you're trying to lose weight, don't try to lose more than 2 pounds a week. If you look in the very front sheet of that packet I gave you, it tells you why. It slows your metabolism down because you lose muscle mass. So losing 2 pounds of fat a week is okay. More than 2 pounds, you see these people, I lost 10 pounds in a week. They lost water and muscle. And guess what? When you see them next month, they're going to put that weight on plus some. So it doesn't stay off. Aiming for nutrient-dense foods, that helps you increase energy. So if you want a snack in the afternoon, it's better to go for maybe a handful of something like this as opposed to a candy bar. About the same amount of calories, but this has got a lot of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals in it. So you're going to have more energy as opposed to a candy bar. It's going to make you go up in that high sugar thing. Insulin's going to grab your sugar and then you're going to plummet down and be starving again in 30 minutes. So you want to look at foods that have more vitamins and nutrients in it. Aim for 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables a day. How many of y'all do that? Nobody eats more than 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Okay, we have one person. Let me make it easier for you. Okay, a serving. If you were to eat like a plum, that's a serving. An apple will be 2 servings. A cup of raw vegetables is a serving, so a big salad might be 2 servings. Cooked vegetables, half a cup. Anybody there yet? Anybody got a few more? Okay. Try to do that. I promise you're going to feel so much better. If you can eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, guess what, y'all? Your cells are always dying, and you're always making new cells. So within a couple of weeks, all those new cells that you've been making out of the extra fruits and vegetables you're eating are going to be healthier cells than what you have in your body right now. Healthier cells in your body means you're going to have more energy, you're going to look better, your skin's going to glow, your hair's going to look better, you're going to get out of bed in the morning, so you're going to feel great. I promise you, it happens. I know when I eat crummy, I feel crummy. You really are what you eat, like your mama told you. You are what you eat. So try it. Just see what happens. Okay. I think that's all I really want to say about that. Here's some other strategies. I already mentioned that looking your long-term goals. Keep a food diary. How many of you keep a food diary or ever have kept a food diary? Yeah. I've been having my class do this for a long time. My health classes do this. And I finally did it with them because I put on some weight recently and I was like, I work out all the time. I can't believe, why am I gaining weight? I've never had a problem before. Turns out I'm eating like a linebacker. 3,000 calories a day is about what I eat. And I went, when I'm telling people they can't do that, I'm doing it. So I've had to take a step back at myself. So sometimes you get a really wake up call when you do your food journal. How many of you ever worn a pedometer? Did you get all the steps you were supposed to get? 10,000 steps per day. People who do this live longer. Studies show it. and tend to have a more normalized weight. Be aware of sugary and diet drinks. Things like this really, really adds on the weight. You know, also alcohol. If you like to drink beer, be aware of that. Those kind of things. Your body does tend to really use those calories quickly, and it hangs on to it. Avoid fried foods, white foods, and trans fatty acids. You know what trans fatty acids are? Typically, if you look at prepackaged foods, things that are in boxes, crackers, cookies, cakes, ding-dongs, things like that, they are foods that contain trans fatty acids. And a lot of research is showing that trans fatty acids is one of the most dangerous things you can put in your body. It's one of the types of fatty acids that can pass into your blood-brain barrier, and it can cause problems with memory. It causes problems with children with autism and ADHD and ADD. It maybe even be linked to Alzheimer's. They don't really know yet. The research is astounding they're doing on that. They know it definitely causes problems with the heart. There is no safe amount of trans fatty acids. Look at your food labels. A lot of times on the front it'll say no trans fatty acid. You look in the back in the ingredient list, remember these words, partially hydrogenated. If it says partially hydrogenated anything, it's got trans fatty acid in it. Partially hydrogenated. That means they've taken a fat, maybe a hydrogenated fat, maybe a unsaturated fat or saturated fat, and then they've done something to it chemically, put it back together again, and now it's partially hydrogenated. What that does is increase the shelf life of these foods. There's some foods that can last forever. You know, you put some margarine out in your backyard, you look at it for 6 months from now, not only is it still out there, nobody's eating it. Nobody wants that. Go ahead and go for the butter if you're going to do it. That margarine is very bad. McDonald's hamburgers, they don't die. They stay out there. I even gotten some things, not because of partially hydrogenated things, I don't know what the thing is. I got some grape tomatoes this last winter, and I put them in my compost bin. And this summer when I went to put the compost down in my garden, those tomatoes still look exactly the same as they did when I threw them in there back in February. I'm like, what is this stuff? So be aware of what you're eating. That can't be good for you. I don't care what they say, that can't be good for you. Okay, and but allow yourself an occasional treat. All things in moderation, even moderation, right? So you want to just be careful of the trans fatty acids. Have you ever heard of the nurses study? It's a long-range study that's been going on for about 30 years. They followed these thousands and thousands of nurses and their lifestyle, and they've kept track of them. And they found that by looking at these nurses, taking everything out of the equation except for TV time, they found that there's a 23% increase in obesity and a 14% increase in diabetes for every 2-hour increment of TV watching. So what is it about watching television that makes you gain weight? You're bored, you're sitting there, the commercials are coming up and showing you food, and the next commercial is showing you weight loss programs, and so that mixed message makes you stressed out, and then you eat. So just be aware of your TV watching. If you have to watch TV, maybe get an exercise bike and sit there and watch it while you're on the exercise bike. Exercise increases your metabolism while you're exercising and afterwards. And if you work out with weights, that even makes you have a faster metabolism. A pound of muscle, if you have a pound of muscle sitting here and a pound of fat sitting here, the pound of muscle is going to burn about 32 calories in the same amount of time that the pound of fat only burns 2. So fat just sits there, bleh, and muscle's going, woo! It's burning stuff. So you want to have more muscle so you can burn those calories. How many of you have trigger foods? You know that commercial for, was it Lay's? No one can eat just one. Trigger food. Foods that have fat, sugar, and salt are very addictive. It's a holy trinity, if I can say it. It's like those 3 foods, if you can find a food with those 3 items in it, the fat, sugar, and salt, is more addictive than cocaine and heroin to your brain. It raises your dopamine and your serotonin level, and you crave it. You want more of that. I gotta have more. So be aware of foods that have even 2 of those items, just sugar and salt, or fat and salt. You crave it. You want more. But if it has all 3, boy. And people who give their children these things, have you ever seen a kid just throw a tantrum because they want some McDonald's hamburger so bad they can't stand it? McDonald's has all those things in it. That's why children, it has their brain going into that withdrawal. They're dying for more of it. You can't blame the kid for having a tantrum. It's biological. Read labels, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later when we go into our packet, exactly how to read your labels, okay? So those who want to stay around for that. And we're also going to use apps to track your process. They have loaded up, Tim has loaded up about 3 or 4 different kind of apps on the iPods they have here in the library. So if you're interested in apps, we'll talk about that at the end of the session too. The Lose It app and the Fitness Pal are really good ones. If you end up not being able to stay around for the last part of this, you can put in your calories and you can track how much exercise you do, and it tells you if you're at a deficit or whatever at the end of the day with calories. So there are really good ways to do it now instead of having to do the old school writing everything down and adding it up. Other things like I have people ask me about a lot. Diet drugs, they're effective in the short term. You'll lose weight at first, but you may have problems with blood pressure, or you may have palpitations, you may not be able to sleep at night. And long term, they quit working. Your body gets used to them, and then they stop working. And you've done all these, you've risked your heart and your health over something that's not going to work for a long time. Same thing with the bariatric surgeries. I know of 10 or 11 people who've had this surgery. One of them has been effective for long term, more than 5 years. Long term super losers, people who can keep the weight off for more than 5 years, all of them lost weight at first. One had to go in the hospital. Another one had to keep going to the doctor back and forth because she was losing her hair and then losing bone minerals and all this kind of stuff. And then all of them, after about 4 or 5 years, are back to where they started. So it's not a real effective long-term solution. And it scares me they're giving it to teenagers now. It really does. Super losers, like I said, are people who can keep the weight off for more than 5 years. They've lost more than 50 pounds and kept it off for more than 5 years. And they tend to have a few things in common. At least 90% of them tend to exercise. Most of them tend to track their foods. And most of them eat healthy. They avoid junk food. Simple. It's not rocket science. It's simple, simple stuff. I'll pull up this website for you, or if you want to email me, I can send you this link so you can just click on it. And on that link, I've got a whole bunch more information. I have it links out to mypyramid.gov, the Heart Association, Red Cross, every kind of organization you can think of. I've got links from my website there. So you can go to these interactive websites, and they're real fun. You can go to and you can find out more stuff. Okay, so I will, like I said, if you're writing that down, I'll give you a second to write down, see some of you are. And I'll show how, when we finish this, I finish this PowerPoint, I'll go to it and just kind of show you in case you want to see it too. Everybody got it? Are people still writing? You have it now? Do you have it? Okay. All right. Here's a takeaway. Everything sounds too good to be true. It probably is. Okay? So there's no quick fix. If I knew a quick fix, if I knew a magic pill, if I knew the secret, I'd be retired. I'd be in the south of France right now. I mean, I would be really, really wealthy. So, you know, right now, it's just a good old diet, exercise, watch what you eat healthy. That's the takeaway. Okay. So let's look at the other stuff here. Get your packet out. Did I have enough for everybody? Do we have a way to make more copies in here? He has an extra one up here. There's one more extra one.
Who needs it?
Wait a second. Let me go to that web page real fast and just show you that real fast. Boy. I will show you this real fast so that if you do want to go to it, you can see what I'm talking about. I can't make it any bigger. On this page, does anyone make this any? Is there a secret to making this
You want to make it
full screen?
Right. You see where it says 100%? Hit the drop down arrow.
Drop down. Oh, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says 100%.
Yeah.
I guess it's as big as it gets.
You can make it smaller.
Okay, well, when you get to this page, at the top there are a bunch of links and things like that. And then if you go to nutrition, every one of these parts that are underlined takes you to a different, like if you want, say you wanted to find out more about achieving a healthy body weight, you can go there and go to Harvard. If you have high cholesterol, you can go there. Blood pressure. This one's a really good one, the choosemyplate.gov. And here you can go in and actually put in your information. I think you log in over here, and it'll help you with that. And then one more that does that. Come on. This one also is interactive, and you can put in, and it'll show you different things you can do. Okay? I just want to show you all that in case you're interested in there's stuff about exercise and getting motivated and things like that on that page. Okay? All right. So, how many of you have a calculator and a pen? Did you have a chance to read over this first page yet? A lot of the stuff I talked about just now, but just in case I know I talked really fast, and in case you missed it, I wanted you to have it written out. Okay, so if you know what your weight is, you can put it in this top line, on this top line here. And then if you don't know, you can just sit there, and after this session, I can weigh you, and you'll know then what it is in case you're curious. So, we can work this together. Now, no, not everybody. You didn't know there'd be math, did you? Let's say you weighed 150 times 0.54. And then times 24. What is that? You know what that is? What I'm just now figuring out in that first part? Does the 24 give you a hint? Equals blank times 24. For this person, this is their basal metabolic rate, BMR. So that means, BMR means this is how many calories you burn at your current weight in a 24-hour period if you did nothing but lay on the couch all day. So it's just how many calories it takes for your heart to beat, for you to breathe, for just normal, turning over of cells. So if you weighed 150, theoretically you would burn 1,620 calories in a 24-hour period. Now there's some variation of that. If you've done a lot of fast or low-calorie diets, if you've been very sedentary, it might be slower than that. If you have a lot of muscle mass, you work out a lot, you're really active, it might be higher. Okay, but this is just an estimated number. We'll try to get a little bit more specific in here in a minute, though. All right. So here's how we're going to get more specific. Look at this stuff in this box right here and see which one applies to you. Do you work out actively hard for 6 hours or more a day? If you do, you can take this number, you're going to multiply it by 50.
Day or week?
Day. It's a day. Okay. Per week. Sorry. Yeah, per week. Okay. Moderate is 3 to 5 hours per week. And then light is basically you're not really exercising. Okay. Is there an eraser around here anywhere? A dry erase thing? Ah, good. Okay. wasn't sure we had pens and things over here. All right. So I'm going to do this person at times 30 and say that they're light. Okay? So what this is your activity requirement. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to add it back to this. So back to your BMR. Have I lost everybody yet? Did I lose anybody? Okay. For this person who weighs 150 pounds, who is very inactive, their RMR, which stands for resting metabolic rate, and all that means is we took our basal metabolic rate, we added our activity to it, and that turns into resting metabolic rate. And that sounds confusing because resting you think wouldn't be with exercise, but it is. That's sort of a weird term. But anyway, this is how many calories this person needs per day to maintain their current weight and at their current activity level. All right, does that make sense? Does anybody have problems with theirs? Is your number something like that? I mean, maybe depending on what your weight and your activity level, it may be as high as 3,000 or something. It may be as low as 1,800. Okay? All right. Now, if this person wants to maintain their weight, all they're going to do is, on this sheet right here, is they're going to take this number they just figured out, and they're going to take it down and put it next to the 10, which says 10, 10, 10, 10. 10 stands for total energy need. So if you don't want to lose or gain weight, you take your number there. What if you want to lose? Let's say this person wants to lose 1 pound a week. We're going to subtract 500 from that. Why? 500 calories a day times 7 days a week is equal to 1 pound, 3,500 calories, right? Now, that has them down at 1,600 calories a day. How many of you can live on 1,600 calories a day pretty well? Not me. I'll be really mean. My students will hate me. So another way you can do it is start exercising just a little bit, maybe a little bit of light walking to burn 250 calories a day, and then subtract 250 calories from this. That's still 1 pound a week, but you're burning the candle at both ends. You're exercising a little bit for the burning of the calories, and you're cutting back just a little bit for the less calories. It's a long-term way of doing it, but it's more effective. It's not so drastic. You can live with it. Subtract 250 calories a day from your diet. That's not that hard, 1 tablespoon of any kind of oil, butter, margarine, mayonnaise is 120 calories. That's basically 2 tablespoons of that. That's like, it's substituting baking a chicken breast instead of frying it. That's 250 calories right there. So it's not that hard to subtract 250 calories from your diet. And then burning it, it's just walking around that track we have up there, that beautiful track, a couple times every day. That's 1 mile a day, 2 times around. Boom, 1 pound a week. Look at it from a year from now, 1 pound a week a year from now, that's pretty good. Okay, so if I did that here, that equals 1856. I'm just going to round it to 1900. Okay, so we're just going to make it 1900. So this person who wants to lose half a pound a week from their calorie part and the other half from the exercise is going to be on a 1900 calorie a day diet. Okay? What are you on? Do you have yours figured out? You feel pretty good with that? So now we're going to figure out, based upon the number of calories that each of you want to eat per day, how many grams of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins you should eat to have a balanced, healthy diet. Okay? You still with me? You having fun? Math. Oh. Who knew I'd be teaching it one day when I was in high school? Okay. So, if you get lost when we're finished, I'd be glad to help you out. So we're going to take that number, whatever your number is, here's mine, and we're going to put it here 3 times in that 10 box. And we're going to calculate how many grams of carbohydrates you should have, then protein, then fat. So, and you have a variation here. the nutritional experts suggest that you have between 55 to 60% of your total calories come from carbohydrates. So more than half your calories come from carbs. Not just any old carbs, right? You can have carbs that are white bread, right? A cookie's a carb, but so is an apple and a carrot stick. Try to get your carbs from whole grains, multigrain bread, 100%. You know, brown rice, not white rice. Sweet potatoes as opposed to a white potato. Broccoli, spinach, those kind of things. That's where you want to get your carbs. The more brightly colored your plate is, the more healthy. And that shouldn't be Skittles, okay? It should be lots of bright colors of things. So that's your carbs. More than half of your plate should be that healthy stuff right there. So now, why would you choose to go 55 as opposed to 60% of your calories going from carbs? Carbs sound great. What if you're diabetic? Or what if you just have a problem with, you know, if you eat sugar, it makes you feel like you just kind of, you get hungry real fast afterwards? If you're that kind of person, you can eat a little bit less of the carbs and more of the protein, okay? I don't advocate a protein diet, one of those low-carb, high-protein diets, but you can adjust. So, looking at what those ranges are, you can do yours. I'm going to do mine at times, what else I do mine? At 58%. So I'm going to get mine almost to the top. But you can do yours whatever, times 58. And then, multiplying by 4. Who knows why I'm multiplying by 4? What? I mean, divide by 4, I'm sorry. Yes. Who was one divided by 4? Math.
4 calories per gram.
You say, do you know why I'm multiplying? I'm sorry, I said it again. Do you know why I'm dividing by 4 here? It's because there are 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates. Okay, so this, if you just kept it here, it would be at calories. But we want to get to grams. Why do we care about it being grams? Because almost every food label tells you how many grams of carbs it has in it. It doesn't tell you how many calories. So that's why we want to get it to the grams. So you can look at the food label and it makes sense to you. Okay? So that has this being 275 grams of carbohydrates. So your numbers should probably be somewhere between 200 and 300, maybe 350 if you have more calories. Anybody have a number that just looks weird, like 20 or 5,000? Everybody's numbers look right? Okay. Y'all are much better than my students. They're always like, I'm lost. I don't know what we're doing. Okay. So now we're going to go with proteins. And your range is anywhere from 12 to 15%. I've even seen some new guidelines to have it as high as 20%. So they're getting a little looser in that. Why don't you want to have more calories coming from proteins? Your body is only able to use a certain amount of protein. If you eat more protein than you can use, that your body needs, you just get rid of it. Americans have very expensive urine because we eat a lot of protein. Most people eat 40 to 50% of their calories from protein. We eat a lot of meat. We don't need that much protein. So trying to get it down to, I'm going to go between 12 and 20%. And I'm going to do mine here at 12%. Again, dividing by 4, because it's 4 calories per gram of protein. Right? That's 57. So you probably have a double-digit number. You may have a low 3-digit number, but it'd be pretty low, I think. Your numbers around that? Do we need a calculator? I have an extra calculator if anybody needs it, if anybody's trying to do this. Can I go to the next one yet? Am I losing you? All right, fat. You should have between 20 to 30% of your calories coming from fat. I know a lot of people who are very overweight who are only eating 5% of their calories from fat. They're not eating enough fat, and their body is just hanging on to those calories because it's starving. You got to have some fat in your diet. Vitamins A, D, E, and K are stored in your fat. You need some fat, but not too much. And it has to be the right kind. Omega-3 fatty acids that come from avocados and fish. Ooh, that's a great source of fat. Kind of that comes from, you know, French fries, not such a great source. So it should be the good kind of fat. Okay, so you can choose. A suggestion I have is to go ahead and calculate at 20% and 30%, and maybe try to keep your fat levels to 20% during the week, And then on the weekends, go up to 30%. You know, when you want to cook out and have some ribs or something, you can go a little bit higher. So that just has your little treat at the end of the week if you do that. For this person, oh yeah, and you're going to divide by 9. The reason why fat gets such a bad rap is because there are 9 calories per gram of fat. It's more dense than proteins and carbohydrates. So that's when we had the, you know, in the 70s and 80s, all the low-fat diets and people not eating any fats because of that. But you have to have some. And if you want to, you can do the same thing again at 30%. Okay? Now 63 right there, or 42 here for this person. So you have about a 20 gram range probably if you do both of them. Your numbers look kind of like that? Yeah? Who's lost? This makes sense to you? You know how much a nutritionist charges you to go in and do this? Lynn, how much? Would somebody, a lot. A couple $100 to sit down and calculate this for you. So that saves you $100 or $200 just now. I'll take tips later. I have to. Okay, so turn the page. What you're going to do with these numbers you just got, all these numbers, you're going to write them right up here. This is your budget. So put down those numbers, your total energy need, and then the grams of carbohydrates, protein, and fat. That's how much you're going to try to eat per day. So just take them over and write them down again. All right? Get them written down? So, let's say you're having a zone bar and you're wondering, well, is this really good for me? It's got a label on it. Everything does. So you need to learn how to read this label and make sense of it. So let's just say this is a label here that's maybe on a box of, let's say, Cheerios. How many of y'all eat breakfast? Yes. Very good. Very good. You all get an A for that. Breakfast is a very important meal. Now, what are you having for breakfast? That's the huge thing. If you're having like a cinnamon roll or a steak and biscuit from Hardee's, then I'm taking some points away from that A. That's more like a C- or something. Okay? If you're having like oatmeal with some berries in it, maybe some walnuts or some Cheerios with, you know, again, berries and walnuts, or maybe even a couple of boiled eggs with a glass of orange juice, something like that. You want to have some kind of fruit, some whole grains, and a little bit of protein. That's going to keep you going till lunchtime. So you want to have all those things. Okay, let's say this is a half a cup of Cheerios. How many of you, when you have cereal, only have half a cup? So look at the portion size, right? I have been fooled a few times on that. I'm like, oh, this only has 100 calories. And I realized after I've eaten the whole thing that it's only saying, like this may say, this is a good example, it has so many calories here, but portion size is only half of this. You drink the whole thing, you've actually had 200 calories, not 100. You know, so be aware of that. Okay, so depending on how big your bowl is, you may have to multiply times 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, so let's say though this is 90 calories. You look at your budget, you can see how many more you have for the day, right? Look at the total gram. Okay, so this has 3 grams. If it's a Monday, I'm trying to keep mine down to 42. I still have 39 more grams to go if I only had half a cup, right? And then if I added walnuts, I got to add that to it. You know, so just be aware of everything. You add milk, add that to it, and then you can deduct and you know where you are, right? Be aware of saturated fat. I haven't talked a lot about saturated fat, but generally about a third of your total calories can come from saturated fat unless you have high cholesterol. In that case, you probably should bring it down to lower than that. Okay. Speaking of cholesterol, while your body doesn't necessarily make cholesterol from cholesterol, you still don't want to eat tons of it. So around 300 milligrams a day. Some of the foods that have a lot of cholesterol actually have a lot of the omega-3 fatty acids, like shrimp. So, you know, it may have a lot of cholesterol, but it also has omega-3 fatty acids, which lower your cholesterol. So you got to look at what kind of food it is and is it worth it, you know, worth the trade-off. Sodium, if you have high blood pressure, you want to keep it down to the lower end of this. If you look over to the right, 2,400 to 3,000 milligram. And some experts are saying less than that. They're saying 2,000. They're going down lower with that. And you have so many hidden salts now. You know, I have a friend of mine. He salts soy sauce. He can, you know, he'll put salt in soy sauce. I'm just like, really? So yeah, that's not a good thing. Carbohydrates. This has 13 grams. Now look at the fiber and the sugar. You know it's a good carbohydrate if it's got more fiber in it and less sugar. Okay, so try to watch out. If it has 0 fiber and 23 grams of sugar, probably not a good thing.
I notice on some things, because I have to watch my carbs, that it has, and I can't remember what it is, but it's alcoholic sugar. Is it alcoholic?
Is it
sugar?
Yeah, and then you've got high fructose kind of sugar, and you've got, you know, I mean, there's so many different kinds.
You add all those sugars together.
Yeah. It should have a total number at the top, though. That should be your total, where it is. But you be aware of your sugar. Things that have, like this Coke again, has high fructose corn syrup. That's the worst kind. And they're starting to do more research on that one, but it tends to really mess with people with diabetes a lot. I mean, we know that much right now. So if it has sugar in it, like an apple's got sugar, so does apple juice. If you eat the apple, it's got the fiber in it. So it's not going to elevate your blood sugar quite as quickly because it has the fiber. You got to break it down, and you actually burn energy while you're breaking it down, as opposed to just when you drink it, you just getting those calories, and then boom, there's nothing else happening except for the sugar going up and then going back down because of the insulin.
I think you just kind of answered my question, that like for documentation purposes, I've read, you know, connect carbs, so if you have your carbs and then subtract the fiber from that, is that actually what you document, or do you document the carbs?
Well, if you're looking at your budget, I would just say the total carbs.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just do the total thing. Yeah, I mean, just that way you're staying within, you know. And finally, the protein. This has 3 grams. We can have 57 here, so we got a long way to go. Does that make sense to you? How you can look at that and you can kind of stay within? And you may find when you do a food journal that at first what I see really frequently when I look at my students' food journals is a lot of times they're not getting enough calories. They're eating like 900 calories, but all the calories are coming from protein and fat are from sugary foods. You know, they're eating potato chips and then drive-thrus and things like that, and you know, they're not really, so their calories are fine, but it's a bigger picture. That's the point I wanted to make, is the bigger picture and just how many calories you're taking in. Okay, so let's turn the page. Let's try to apply this to real life. You can say restaurants, or you can say if you're cooking at home. Let's just look at some this or that moments, right? Let's say you're going to a steakhouse. If you get a 9-ounce ribeye, it's got about 1,000 calories. And look at the grams of fat. If you're on this diet, and it's on a given Wednesday, it's more grams of fat in that ribeye than you can have for the whole day. You've blown it, butter. I'm thinking butter for the baked potato. Because that's the next thing I'm looking at is the baked potato. Look down, though, at the filet, the 6-ounce, 20 grams of fat, and about half the calories. So, you know, you still get the steak. You still get the pleasure of it without really busting your diet. And if you get a baked potato with a little bit of butter, like a teaspoon as opposed to a huge, you know, you get the flavor without so much of the fat, okay? And I wouldn't go for the margarine again. Let me just say that one more time. It has margarine on here, but I just think margarine is the evil food. You really should just take it on out of your diet right now. It's up there with artificial sugars. I just really don't like the Diet Cokes and those kind of things, because diet drinks, I didn't really mention that earlier, but diet drinks tend to set you up and make you crave sugar more. And, you know, I think that's another evil food. I don't say many foods are bad, but a couple of them those are. Go down to Texas style barbecue. If you go for a barbecue beef, as opposed to the barbecue chicken, you're going to double your calories. Beef has got about 650 calories to chicken's 300 calories. And about, you know, double the amount of fat grams. So choose the chicken instead of the beef or the pork, and you're going to save on calories and fat grams. Go right across to the seafood. The fried fish has about 300 calories more than the baked, broiled, or grilled fish. The same thing is true with the chicken. So, you know, if you bake it or broil or grill it, you know, it's about 300 calories. A serving of fish or chicken is about the size of, say, a deck of cards, right, or a bar of soap. I wouldn't say palm of your hand. Some of y'all have some big hands, so maybe not that. But that's about how many calories we're talking about here with a 4-ounce serving or a 6-ounce serving. The fish only has 3 grams of fat too. Look at that. So that's a really good one. As opposed to when you fry it, you add about 20 grams of fat to it. We love our fried catfish down here, but it's a treat. Mexican. The one thing I think is unfair, and I think it should be a law against it. When you have free food, it shouldn't have any calories. Those chips, if you have 20 of those chips, 500 calories before you ever get your meal. Ow! But the good news is that salsa counts as a vegetable. Look, 0 calories. If you don't like vegetables, salsa. Yes, so that's a good one. The Italian, another way to get, if you don't like vegetables, the meat-free tomato sauce, marinara sauce, counts as a vegetable. And men, the tomato sauce helps fight prostate cancer, so it's a really good thing for you to have. So that's the one we can do. And I would say, lasagna or spaghetti, or especially fettuccine alfredo, those are the treats, not the ones you should choose more often. The fettuccine alfredo is one with the cream, and the cheese, and the butter. It's so good, but it's so bad for you. It's a treat. And then the Chinese, we all think that Chinese food's healthy, but if you get that sweet and sour pork, it's just sugar and salt. And if it's fried, then it's the Holy Trinity. The fried chicken with the sugar and the salt, and boy, that's the thing I talked about earlier with the whole brain chemistry. I know you do not eat fast food in this room, but just in case you ever go to a fast food restaurant, some of you have on your next sheet the fast food drive-through thing. Look over to the bottom right at the taco salad. I think you're doing a good thing eating taco salad. Ouch, right? They compare the McGrilled chicken sandwich to like the other chicken sandwich, and the same thing with the fish sandwiches. Look at the difference. Why is one so high in calories and fat and one so low? Because one that's high is fried and it's got mayonnaise on it, okay, and the other one's grilled, and maybe it has something else like mustard or something. Makes a huge difference. Your condiments make a difference. I saw somebody's jaw drop over there at some of the things. You can go to any of the websites of every restaurant now, and you can see what they have. I'm not saying to avoid all the time certain foods, but I am saying know what you're getting. Don't think if you order the fried chicken salad that's got the eggs and the cheese and stuff that you're like, look what I did. It's got a lot of calories on it, and the ranch dressing and the blue cheese dressing, bam, you're up there with the Big Mac calories now. So just be aware of what you're eating. Turn the page again. And I wonder where the iPods are. Did anybody know where Tim is? I thought he was supposed to bring the iPods to me. Oh, okay. This is old school way of doing your food journal. You can make a copy of this and hang on to it and just do it like that. And I would say, okay. Yeah.
Mood or state?
Mood or state. Earlier when I asked you how many of you were stress eaters, about half of you raised your hand. Some people only eat when they're hungry. These people I call skinny. Most of us tend to have, there's hunger and there's appetite. And the appetite is influenced a lot of times by your mood. And so be aware of what's driving you to eat. And that's why that's there. But the other ones, you would write down what you eat. Remember portion sizes. At the end of the day, add it all up and see how many of each you have, and then compare it to your budget and see how close you are. Okay? And that way you'll know if you're in your range where you should be. Now, back here, do we need to come up there and pick one up, or how do we do this with the apps? Okay, if you want to come get one of these apps, you can. You want them to sign up for it, or I think we can trust this bunch of hooligans. I think they won't. Let me just take one. If you want to come get one, you can. Especially if you have a smartphone, you might want to come and check some of these out. One I like to use is the Lose It one. Nobody wants to get one? Or maybe on your own phone you already have one. Okay. Now, to lose it, you can, I agree to this agreement thing first. You can put in how many pounds you are now, and then what your goal weight is, or it may even set it for you if you put down what your height is, what your exercise level is, and it will, help you figure out what you should eat per day. Every single food I've ever punched in here is you can find. You can just, do a search for a kind of food, and it'll find it for you. You can say, name a food, name some weird food, whatever it might be. Curry, blooming onion. You can type in blooming onion, and it'll ask you which restaurant you got it from, or it'll just say if you made it at home, and it'll tell you how many calories and grams of carbohydrates, fat, and protein it has in it, and it'll add it to your daily intake. And at the end of the day, it'll add it up for you.
And if you get a Subway, because I did that the other day, you have to put in what
What
kind of
you've
bread
got.
you use, whether you have peppers or banana peppers, everything that you put on that sandwich.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it really does all the work for you.
Now, does Lose It also have a place where you can track like your fitness?
Yes.
Because I've used Spark people in the past, and it keeps it all up.
Right, this does too. And then there's another one here, let me turn this off. The Fitness Pal, let me find that one. I need my glasses. I don't think he put the Fitness Pal on this one. Is this it? Yeah. Fitness Pal is another good one. And it'll actually say, like, this is how many calories you have remaining that you can have for the day, so you'll know if you can have that treat at night or not. It'll say, you have 500 calories remaining that you can have, so you can have a glass of wine if you want or whatever. So these are fun. I think these are really good, and they keep you motivated. It helps you instead of just doing the old school writing it down. Our time is over, but I'll be here for as long as I need to be. If you want to come over and get your body fat done, or if you wanted some help with the apps, or if you want to do your measurements, the tape measures are over here, or if you just have any questions, come on over and I'll be glad to weigh you or talk to you, okay? Thanks for coming, those who are leaving.